Now taking a live look at I-65 in the Brentwood area this morning from one of the TDOT cameras. You can see traffic is back moving this morning through that area. Last night a much different story after a pedestrian was hit and killed between Concord Road and Moores Lane. This is what traffic looked like last night around 10 p.m. You can see the southbound lanes were backed up and it was that way for miles. The THP has not released many details yet about exactly what happened or why the person had been in the road in the first place. There's a new development in that deadly shooting at a fast food restaurant here in Midtown last weekend. The victim is now out of the hospital and behind bars. News Channel 5's Matthew Torres joins us from outside the CJC this morning. Now, what was he arrested for, Matthew?
Jennifer, that same victim just so happens to be a suspect for a separate incident. Ryan Weaver is now here in Metro Jail facing aggravated robbery and evading arrest. Metro Police arrested him yesterday afternoon after being released from the hospital. Now, they learned that he had an outstanding arrest warrant against him after he was shot inside the Cookout restaurant on West End last Sunday. He is accused of robbing an 18-year-old student at Tennessee State University at gunpoint on January 30th. Now, he was stopped a week later by police, but he quickly drove off and got away. Now, police found him last Sunday after a gunman walked inside the restaurant and shot him at least twice and sending him to the hospital. His friend, Mary Gross, was shot and killed after trying to run away from the suspect. And so far, that gunman has not been caught. As far as for Weaver, he is again in jail being held on an $85,000 bond. For now, we're reporting live from the Criminal Justice Center this morning. I'm Matthew Torres, News Channel 5 HD.
Detectives are still trying to figure out why a 15-year-old was shot and killed yesterday. It happened outside the victim, Devontae Ziegler's home on Glenwood Drive in North Nashville around 3 p.m. Ziegler, after he was shot, ran to another home nearby on McCarthy Park Lane. According to witnesses on the scene, Ziegler was on his front porch with two men when the shooting happened. One of the young men with him had a gun and fled on foot. The other is a juvenile and has been questioned by police. Ziegler was taken to the hospital where he later died from his injuries. If you have any information that could help police solve this crime, call Crime Stoppers at 615-74-CRIME. Icy conditions left some firefighters in a tough predicament yesterday. They weren't able to get to a home that was burning right in front of them. Take a look at this video of the scene. The smoldering pile of rubble used to be a 3-story log cabin on Kirk Lane in Gallatin. Just after 4 yesterday morning, one of the homeowners heard windows breaking in the kitchen and discovered flames. Didn't take long before the whole house was on fire. But firefighters initially weren't able to make it up the long, steep driveway that was covered in ice. And by the time they did, the floors were already collapsing.
It's frustrating because, we're trying to help the people, and there's really nothing you can do at that point.
Fire investigators are still trying to determine what started the fire. After 19 days of chilly weather and several rounds of snow and ice, Tennesseans are waking up, thankfully, to warmer weather. And that state of emergency has finally been lifted. TEMA ended the activation yesterday afternoon, right around 4 o'clock. And 4 people died on the roads because of the latest winter storm here in Tennessee. Emergency management officials updated that number yesterday afternoon. The latest was a man in Dixon County. James Hill was killed in a crash that happened on Highway 70 in White Bluff Thursday. Authorities tell us he was a passenger in a car that had overturned while driving up an icy hill, and he was not wearing a seatbelt. Other victims include a Wilson County woman, a man in Dixon County, and another man in Campbell County. And this morning there is an ongoing investigation into why 11 people froze to death during last month's winter storm. Governor Haslam has asked the Department of Health to look into each case. Some of the victims were found dead in their homes after being without heat. At least 2 were elderly people who froze outside their homes after falling down. Officials say most of those who died from hypothermia last month probably had friends or relatives who were worried about them but just couldn't get out to check on them. Happening later this morning, families zoned for Waverly Belmont Elementary are invited to a meeting to discuss a new parking lot. The school is set to open next year, and Metro schools are asking for community input about placing the lot behind the school. They've also invited residents from the 12th South and Edge Hill neighborhoods. The meeting starts at 9 this morning at the Midtown Hills Police Precinct.